Welcome to Business Relationships Matter Network today, and I am delighted to welcome Jaeneen Cunningham, the International Behavioural Finance Coach, to be our spotlight speaker today. I've known Jaeneen for a couple of years through networking and being Queenslanders, or having lived in Queensland. I've known Jaeneen on and off during the business through business. Jaeneen's presentation explores how the importance of money expands as the margin for error shrinks, drawing from a scarcity mindset research to explain why financial stress becomes all-consuming near zero. Jaeneen is a behavioural finance coach focusing on the intersection of money and the human mind and decades of experience in the financial industry. And you can see she is a licensed credit advisor, has a diploma in finance, certificate in mortgage broking, and a graduate certificate in business from Griffith University. Jaeneen, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to hand over to you now. You can share or just record as we can leave the recording going.
Thank you, Ross. That's very kind. So today I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about getting close to zero with your money. And when you get close to zero, what happens? What is the cost to you? Because life gets really expensive when you're near zero, right? When you don't have any money or it's getting close to it, and you start to sort of panic. And it's not because prices go up, but it's because when you're close to zero, you actually lose the choices that you have because it becomes no choice. You actually panic. When money is comfortable and it's all fine, you're pretty calm. You can wait. You can compare with other things. You can negotiate. But when money is tight, that urgency sort of takes over. You accept higher interest rates. Like for instance, if you're not earning enough money, you can't borrow money, which means that you have to do a different type of loan, which actually gives you a higher interest rate. Because a lot of people in business, especially, they don't want to pay tax, which means they reduce their income, which means when they go to the bank, they actually then can't borrow. So there's got to be a bit of a balance there. You pay late fees because you tend to be juggling with the money and you then forget to pay things or you put things aside, then you get late fees or dishonors and so forth. You buy quickly instead of buying well. So the paradox to this is that, people who can least afford mistakes are forced into making the most expensive ones. So, if you look at your business, cash strong businesses invest, strategize, and look for growth. Cash poor businesses discount to survive because scarcity doesn't change intelligence, it just changes your behavior. So I guess you could think about, if you want to think about what was the last decision you made because it felt urgent, in your business or in your personal life. What made you feel that way? Was it cheaper or just faster? Did urgency remove the options that you would normally want? Urgent decisions often come with hidden costs. So, you need to think about those couple of things. The second thing is scarcity shrinks your mental bandwidth. You can't think, when you don't have any money, when you have to juggle bills and so forth. Because when money's scarce, your brain goes into survival mode. Survival mode is brilliant at getting us through today, but it's terrible at planning for tomorrow. So that scarcity consumes that mental bandwidth. I know working with women in domestic violence who have been financially abused, their mental capacity to actually think about, have I got the money? What am I going to do? When I leave, how will I pay for this and all that? It really, it consumes you and you just don't know what to do. Everything's sort of a bit of a mismatch. So even when you're not thinking about the money, There are checks and balances, worrying about cash flow, mental juggling obligations. So this background noise shrinks your cognitive capacity. So scarcity reduces creativity, patience, and perspective. So in business, this looks like, everything feeling urgent, emotional reactions replacing strategic ones. Your control replaces clarity. So there's a danger in that because scarcity makes us focus on what's loud, what we feel that this is important. We think it's important, but it's just actually loud. It's not really what's important, and you think that you have to work on that, immediately because you can't think straight. So, what currently takes up your mental bandwidth, what that space in your business that you wish that it didn't? Like, are you making good decisions? Are you preparing for look, this also happens in your personal life. What are the things that you do in your personal life that is the same thing that's taking up that bandwidth? And what are the decisions that you are making? So because there's consequences to your decisions, good or bad, it doesn't matter. There's always consequences. I had a client a couple of weeks ago who has been driving his car. He's self-employed and has just about carked it, right? And he's like, "Oh my God, I need a new car." And so I said, "Well, that's okay because when you can borrow the money, you can claim it as a tax deduction. There's all of these things as long as you're working. Because if he doesn't work, the money's not going to come in." But he told me that his wife said he can't buy the property, that can't buy the car, the van. So, I sat down with her and said, what's going on? What's happening? Find out there's four children, four of them in private schools, and she gave up work to tend to the children. So there's one less, income coming in. And now as the kids grow and they go to a next level in schooling, there's more costs towards that. So, and I said to her, okay, so, with your husband, let's just say he lost his job. So what would happen? What decisions would you be making then? What would you stop doing? So, and that's what I say to people all the time when they make decisions. Think of it as if you don't have the money. I actually love telling my children I have no money. Because when the money comes in, I put it somewhere, like I buy shares or I buy whatever. So when I look at my bank account, there's like $200 in there. And it actually makes me think, okay, well, that's good. I don't have the money. I don't spend it. But it's actually over there doing something really good. There's a return on the investment, right? So it's a good way if, you're maybe a spendthrift. But what would happen if you actually lost your job tomorrow or your business went under? What decisions would you make? What would you actually cut out? Because that's how you have to be thinking every day to ensure that you don't get into this space. So the third thing is net zero removes choice, right? Because choice is actually it's about power. It gives you that option to do things. So the cost of near zero isn't money. It's just really that loss of choice and options. When you have choices and you have options, you have a sense of confidence. You have power. You can say, no, I'm not going to do that. You can say, well, I'll sleep on it, or you can renegotiate. Like, in business, if you stick to your guns with how much you charge, you're not thinking that you're getting close to zero, you're not going to take on the customers that really are not your customers, right? But sometimes we do that because we go, well, it's better than having nothing to take on that customer. And and then when you do it, then you sort of regretting it because you're thinking, actually, that wasn't my target market. They don't fit into what I do, but I just took them on, because of that. So you're making the wrong decisions. So, you just accept the wrong work, you tolerate poor terms, you underprice your value, and that urgency kills the leverage that you have. And when leaders lose choice, they lose strategy. They become busy instead of effective. They're reactive instead of intentional. So when choice disappears, survival starts to take over. So, where are you in your business? Do you feel that you can't say no right now? Do you have a strategy in place, or are you just thinking, oh, I'll just take anybody? Because I think sometimes also when you do really, when you're very clear about who is your right target market, and you then market to those people, you say the things that you want, you just won't waver for, getting something else for the sake of it. So it's not a personal weakness by any means. It's just a signal. It's a signal to you to actually think about, well, what am I doing? Have I got loss of choice here? So, and if you have loss of choice, then that's the clearest indicator of you, being in scarcity mode. And then there's the compounding cost of scarcity. Scarcity compounds. It actually keeps going, going, going. It doesn't, and then if you're always in scarcity mode and you're making those wrong decisions in your business, in the end, you have to stop and go, okay, what am I doing wrong here? I have a client who is like a tradesperson. They do finishing and stuff like that, plastering. And the guy that does it is an amazing plasterer. He's been working for years and years and years. But what I found out is he actually goes through a third party to actually get the jobs that he wants to get. It's because he doesn't have a ticket. And he's been doing it for so many years, and he gets work. Like the turnover is incredible of what he does, right? But what that is stopping him from doing is actually he's having to have a middleman in there because he doesn't have that ticket. So, people to go direct to somebody, they'll say to him, "We don't have a ticket, mate. So this is the price." So it's leading to poor decisions for him. And I said to him, if you just took out a couple of weeks, you've got recognition of prior learning, you've got photographs of the things that you did, you've got references from people. I mean, it's clear that you can actually do the work. It's just that you just haven't got that piece of paper. So what are you losing? So take 2 weeks out and do that, because that'll stop all of these other things. But he's so busy getting the work that it's been years now and he hasn't got his ticket. So, that does increase cost to you and your business. So that actually deepens your scarcity. So over time, this becomes your identity. Most people will say quietly to themselves, "Oh, I'm not good with money. I'm good at this business. I'm a good plumber or marketer, but I don't know what happens with the money. I'm just not good at that." I mean, everybody has those things that we're not good at, right? Like when you run a business, we're not good at everything. We didn't start the business to do all of those other things. We started the business because we're good at something. And some people can do other things. Like I hate IT, right? I don't know. All I know is that I get logged out, I lose stuff, all of the stuff that I hate. And so my husband does that because I just can't deal with that kind of stuff. So I don't say I'm not good at it. I just remove that job and give that to him. And I do things like networking that he won't do. So this is just how business is, right? So the avoidance feels like relief, but it's actually an expensive relief, right? Most businesses don't fail loudly, they just erode very quietly. So scarcity is not a moral failing of any of us. It's just a structural problem, which means it can be redesigned. You can change that. You don't have to be that person that gets it to that point. There are ways and means around getting to you in a position where you can fix it. So I guess on reflection, what's one money decision you've been avoiding? Not because it's complex, but because it just feels uncomfortable, that you just don't want to do it. I talk to people about that with self-managed super funds. Most people in Australia, now there's facts and figures out there. We've got lots of things out there that 90% of people think when you survey them, they say, "Yep, I know heaps about money. I know I'm going to retire well, and so forth." But in actual fact, only 10% of people in Australia retire with enough money to let them, live a decent life. And the sad, well, it's not a sad thing, it's a great thing. We're actually living longer, right? So if you retire, say, at 60 or 70, what if you've got another 20 years to live? What are you going to do? Like, have you actually thought about that now where you are and what the last 20 years, what you've done and where you've gotten to and how much you have? Is that going to be another 20 years? Are you going to have that kind of money? And most people just avoid it because they are in fear that they cannot read their statement. They don't understand it. They don't contact anybody to do it because they think that they'll judge them. But what we want people to do is actually think about your future. Most things that you do in your own family right now, you plan it well. You don't go to the movies or on holidays or wherever and don't plan it. You go on holidays, you know how much it's going to cost, how much time you're going to spend there, what tours to go on, the flights, the accommodation, the food, everything. It's well planned, right? Why don't we do that for other things, like in our own personal lives? Like instead of having 4 kids in private school, think about what that's going to do to you in the future if money is tight. Um, maybe you could make other choices around that. So I would love to leave you with thinking about, you don't need perfection. You just need the distance from here to zero to be higher than closer. So that creates more options to you and clarity and confidence. So your goal isn't to remove the pressure. The goal is to ensure that important decisions are never made from scarcity. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaeneen. That was awesome. I made a couple of notes there, and phew, I like the scarcity gets us through today, but it's terrible for tomorrow. That is such I hadn't stopped to think about that previously. So I like that one. And for businesses, like you know, leaders lose strategy when you're focused on scarcity in that way. And I've been in that boat. I've gone through and done those things, so I can relate to it. And it's interesting you're talking about the tickets, that you're getting the ticket, and you can do it by prior recognition. I know I was talking to somebody recently. They are in a job and they're paying, and their partner's trying to say, go and spend the money to get a forklift license. You'll get more money and you'll get more frequent work as a consequence. But they don't want to take the time out or spend the money to do that. And so they're stuck in this no man's land. So, from unemployment. So thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording right now. And